What we're going to do today is to go through the installation of MinGW on a Windows 7 computer. This I know will work on previous versions of Windows, at least as far back as Windows XP. Whether it'll work on a laptop or Windows 8, I'm not sure because I don't have access to those. If anyone knows, please let me know. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to search for the installer, and this will take me to the web page on how to do this. You should probably read through this at your leisure, but ultimately you will want to click on this Getting Started link right here. There are some notes that you really should read, and the most important is right up here at the top, which is that if you want to override the default installation path, which is C:\MinGW, go ahead and do that if you want to, if you feel like you need to, but under no circumstances should you include spaces in that path name. It's just not going to work for you if you do that. So once you've read all that, go down to the MinGW Get Setup and download the installer. The installer is the program that we're going to go through today to actually download and install your stuff. And so I'm going to get this program, and the installation went pretty quick, probably because I've done this very recently. And when I click on my progress page, I see that I've got it right there, so I click on it. Your browser will handle downloads differently if you're not using Firefox. Hopefully you've downloaded stuff before and you know how to execute the program you just downloaded. So launch the installer, click the install button, and look at your options. The first option is the installation directory. You probably don't have any real reason to change this. If you do, this is where you change it. Click that change button. But remember, don't use spaces in the path. There is a command line installer. I have never tried it. I don't recommend it. The GUI installer is just fine. But note that I'm talking about the installer only. It's not going to change the MinGW environment once you get it installed. That will always be a command line environment. You can install it just for yourself or for all users of the computer. That's the default. If you do this, you have to have administrative privileges. So if you're using a shared computer, you may want to install it just for yourself. You can leave a start icon in the start menu and or on the desktop. I don't like cluttering up my desktop, so I'm going to leave it in the start menu. And so I click continue, and it will do some work to download some initial stuff, which will take just a few minutes. There will be, as of the time that I recorded this, I think 109 items over here in this section. This will take just a few minutes to install. Once it gets up to 40, it'll download some more items, and you see that it's got those. So it's downloaded all those items. You can look at the details to see what it did, but the main thing is you're going to click continue to continue. And here is the option window. For beginning purposes, I strongly recommend sticking to the basic setup option. This will give you everything that you need to do C and C++ programming. You will want to click the developer tools and click the mark for installation. Wait for those check marks to show up. You will want Ming32 base, mark that for installation. And you should go ahead and install G++ because even though you're probably doing this only for C programming right now, you will very quickly decide that you want to go forward with C++ programming, and you should go ahead and have that with you. Now that you've got those selected, go to the installation menu and click Apply Changes. And then this will ask you if you want to proceed. Once you have started this process, you should have some other way to entertain yourself. This will take about 8 minutes. I will be back when the process is completed. Okay, so all of those changes were made, and you may now close that dialog. So we close that one. You can see that we've got all those checked items installed. Later on, if you decide you want to get down and dirty with programming in a deeper way, you can install some of these others, and you can even go back to the all packages and install some of that. So we've got it installed, but before we try to launch it, there's one tiny fix-up that we have to make. For some reason, this is not part of the installer. So we're going to go to our MinGW installation, which is on your C drive in the MinGW folder, and we're going to go to the MSys folder, and we're going to get into the MSys 1.0 folder and go to the etc file. Notice this one up here says fstab.sample. We're going to make a copy of that file, and we're going to put it right in the same folder. So now we have a copy of it, and we're going to change the file name so it is just fstab without any file extension. And yes, Windows, I know what I'm doing, so I'm sure I want to change it. Now that I've done that, everything should work just fine. And before we leave this, notice where your home directory is. It's in C /MinGW /MSys /1.0 Okay, we don't have it yet, so we're going to set this window aside for a moment. We're going to go to our all programs. We're going to go to MinGW. We're going to launch this shell, and it opens up a window that over here you can tell it kind of looks a little bit like a Linux or Unix window because of this $sign, and the prompt is a little bit different from what you may be used to, but it's still perfectly valid, and we can see that some of our favorite commands work very nicely. We can run the GCC compiler. I'm going to give it the -version option to show that it's version 4.8.1 as of the time that I recorded this. That might change. Another command that you're going to need is the make command. Its version is 3.8.1, and of course our favorite text editor, Vim, which has a version of 7.3. So once we've done all that and we've worked for a little while, we can exit that, it closes that window. Now we go back and we see this folder that we didn't see a minute ago, the home folder, and your username, and that folder was created the very first time you launched Vim. Okay, so now you have an installation of MinGW, which will give you, for all intents and purposes, a Windows-like, a Linux-like environment. The only difference is that when you compile a program without renaming the output, that is the way we've been doing it all semester, instead of ending up in a program called a.out, it ends up in a program called a.exe. That's because it's on Windows and Windows requires that.